If you're a non-citizen and you're looking to open up a personal bank account, but you cannot travel to the USA, here are 3 personal bank accounts that you can open as a non-US citizen. When you open up a personal bank account in the USA, then you get access to things such as building your credit, getting access to banking resources in the USA, a debit card so you can actually spend money and build relationships with these banks so you can eventually get access to the big 5 banks and the better banking accounts. It is very hard to open up one of these personal bank accounts with a big 5 bank, and the big 5 banks includes Citibank, Wells Fargo, Chase Bank, and Bank of America. But inside of this video, I'm going to be giving you a few options so that you don't need to travel to the USA, and when you're eventually ready to do that, you can travel to the US. You already have banking partners, you already have some level of a credit score inside of the USA, and you can then open up a Chase Bank account or whatnot. But before I give you the 3 different bank names, it's very important to understand that when you open up a bank account, it does not necessarily mean that you're going to keep that bank account. One thing about US banks is that they can actually reject giving you services if you do not have a strong relationship with that bank. So say for example, you open up one of these bank accounts that I'm going to give you right now. You not only have to have the goal of opening up that bank account, but most importantly, it's about building a relationship with that bank. So say for example, you drop in more money inside of that personal bank account. That's building a better relationship. You call the bank teller and you talk about their different products. That's building a relationship. You ask them if you can put down some more information on your file so that you can create a better relationship so that you don't have to face getting your account shut down. Let's break down exactly what are the requirements before we get into the personal bank accounts that you can open. So most importantly, what you're going to need to have is a valid photo ID. You do not need to have any US based ID. You just need to have a valid photo ID, which could be any kind of passport, a driver's license or whatnot, so that you can prove your identity. The second thing that you're going to need is either a SSN or in your circumstance, since you're a non-US citizen, a ITIN, a individual taxpayer identification number. So that number specifically is going to identify you within the system. And so if you don't have your ITIN, I've already broken down a video on that topic. I'll link it down in the description. Another thing that you're going to need to have, which is actually a bit more difficult to get, is proof of US address. You're going to need to have a real residential address inside of the USA. Now, it doesn't need to be a real address that you're paying for or you have to live in the US. That's not what they're saying. You need to have a residential address that can receive mail. And along with that residential address, you're going to need to have proof of that US address. So that includes a utility bill, a lease agreement, a bank statement, or official mail, usually not older than 1 to 2 months. And then lastly, you're going to need to put down a minimum deposit. Now, the amounts that you have to deposit varies based on the bank, but in this video, the deposits are not going to be crazy high. But I just have to say, the more money you put down in a personal bank account, the better it is because you are strengthening that relationship with that bank. Now, you're not going to drop in $100,000 immediately within one of these bank accounts because they're going to ask you where you got that money from. But if you could drop down maybe $1,000, $2,000, $10,000 in one of these bank accounts, you most likely would not face getting your account shut down. And the reason why I'm emphasizing account shutdowns before we get into the actual bank accounts is because most likely the times that you actually will face account shutdowns is in the very start of your relationship with that bank. If you've got a good relationship and all your numbers and all your information is put in properly, then you should not have a problem. But in the case that you don't have a relationship set up, then they're going to be a bit more skeptical. So now let's go into the 3 different bank accounts that you can open up completely remotely without needing to travel to the USA. And the first one is the Charles Schwab bank account. What you're actually doing is that you're opening up an international brokerage account. Now that account is actually not FDA insured. So if Charles Schwab ends up going bankrupt, then you can't get a refund through the FDA insurance. But the thing is that Charles Schwab is a huge corporation and most likely that's not going to happen. But here's how you're going to need to do this. You're going to open up an international brokerage account, and through that brokerage account is actually going to be able to give you access to investments, things of that sort, but you don't really care about that. You care about the personal bank accounts. It's going to give you access to a debit card, which you will get in the mail, and it's going to give you access to a personal bank account. Here's what you're going to need to do. You're going to need to click open up an account. It's going to ask you for the different information, which we already covered. It's going to ask you, which region are you of residence? Now, in this instance, you're not going to say the place that you're living in right now because you're a non-US citizen. You're going to say the USA. Now, you're going to click United States, right? You're going to find it over here, and then you're going to open up an account, right? You're going to open up a individual brokerage account. Now, sometimes the registration process does change. So in the comments, if you do want to let me know if that worked for you, and it did work with our clients, just let us know in the comments. Let's give you the second alternative if that specifically does not work, and that is opening up a personal bank account with alliantcreditunion.org. So that is based inside of the USA, and pretty much they allow non-citizens to open up personal bank accounts and get access to a debit card. Now, the thing about them is that sometimes they do work, sometimes they don't, and in the cases that they don't, you're just going to need to call the credit union and tell them that you're trying to open up a personal bank account. And in most instances that we've actually helped people open up these accounts, they've actually worked. You're going to go and click on the bank side, and you can either open up a checking or a savings account. I would just say high rate checking account, and you're going to click on open now. Now, most importantly, what you're going to need to do is make sure that you've got your VPN set to the United States, because in some instances, they're actually going to block you from opening up this account if they see that you are located in a different country. But what you're going to need to do is just set your VPN to the United States, and as you go through the process, you give them the right info, they're going to allow you to open up that account very simply. Now, the last account that you can open up is actually a Wells Fargo account. Now, the reason that I've left this as the last option is because in most instances, you're going to need to go to the branch and open up this account. But in some instances, some clients have been able to open up accounts like these, so I'm going to give you that option if you do prefer to do so. So when you go on the Wells Fargo account, you're going to need to click on personal, and you can see the different information about an account like this one. You're going to click on open now, and after that, it's going to redirect you to the page to sign in and get the process started, right? So you're going to open up a checking account, and you see over here it asks for either your SSN or your ITIN. So you're going to write your ITIN there and your mobile number. Now, one thing that I forgot to mention is that your mobile number needs to be a USA based number. With any of these accounts that you open up, if they ask you for a mobile number, put down a US number, because that is the number one way that they're going to decline your application. Those are the three different options in terms of personal bank accounts that you can open up right now. Let me know in the comments if they work for you. But most importantly, when you get these accounts opened, make sure that you are building that relationship with those banks, because at any time they can close your account if they see any wrong information. And if you get that account opened, then put down a significant deposit so that they can know that you are a real legit person and you're ready to start a relationship. Hopefully you enjoyed this video, and if you're interested in opening up one of the big 5 bank accounts, one that you probably need to go in real life, we do have banking partners that could help you with the whole process, where you don't actually need to go to the locations. If you're a non-US business owner and you're interested in getting access to credit, to banking solutions, payment processors, all the things that come along with US business banking, then you can apply down below and see if you qualify for any of our services. I'll see you in the next video.